So welcome back. We're in the third rotation now of this 7.5 kilometer, 4 by 7.5 kilometer relay. And coming through the third member of the Russian team, this is Olga Anisimova. Outside the top 20 herself in the World Cup rankings. They come right down into the stadium, then glide around. The German athlete. Third on the rotation for Germany, Katarin Apel. Germany's quartet, the survivors, really Dizl and Petra Belli, both Antje Mezerski, these days Antje Harvey, and Simone Petter Mem, both who were in the team, not in at the moment. Simone, back problems, recovering. Antje looking after her family across in the United States at the moment. So the Germans with a couple of youngsters really in the team, in Martina Zellner on the second leg and Katarin Apel on the third leg. Martina Zellner for Germany actually missed a couple of shots, and had to do a penalty loop. Now in lane number 2 there for Russia, this is Anisimova. Targets exactly the same as they are for the individual competition. Anisimova 50 meters away. That's one miss. And in comes the German team. So, dipping into the cup for an extra bullet. Which, these bullets, the 3 extras they have got to be loaded singly, as you can see there on the left of your screen. They're not in the magazine, they're not in the clip. So no penalty loops, but making use of the extra bullets. Now this is where Germany have got to try and catch up, and Katarin Apel missing. In come the Norwegians, Hildegund Mickelsplass, 14th in the World Cup at the moment. So the other two still in the range, and Katarin Apel, she's going to be using those extra bullets. And she's losing an awful lot of time. In come the French now. Emmanuelle Claret. So a chance for her to catch up. The Norwegians are really closing now on the Germans. All the good work done by Dizl and Martina Zellner to a certain extent for the German team. I'm afraid being undone by the newcomer Katarin Apel, but it's important experience. And so Apel's going to be into penalty loops. Left in the range there for France, Emmanuelle Claret, who's been 11th, 5th, 11th and 6th. And now they're going to have to, as the Norwegian lass goes out, Hildegund Mickelsplass back in the penalty loop. It's Katarin Apel going round and round. Claret dips in for an extra bullet. Having to load them singly, of course, just takes that little bit longer. Needs this 5th shot, though. And again, pressure on. They didn't get a great start. Nia Gray, not at her best at the moment. And here comes Katarin Apel. Her shooting's done. She'll be mighty relieved for that. But you can see on the left of your screen, Russia lead from Norway and Germany. France coming out now. Chance for the French to get on terms, perhaps. They've got Ambrion on the last leg. So this the situation after the second shooting on the third rotation. Russia by a minute, that's a really useful advantage. Germany 42 seconds behind the Norwegians and then the French. So some quite big gaps, but Still the fourth rotation to come, and if anybody has a disaster there amongst the leaders, then it could all change yet. Well, the Russians with quite a useful quartet. On this third leg, it's Olga Anisimova, 25th in the World Cup rankings. Anisimova didn't have a great experience in Östersund in the sprint. She ended up individually there 32nd and dropped 5 shots, but beginning to find a little bit of form now. The Russians who took the Olympic title, this is a completely new quartet. She's got to keep working hard. But these are really tough trails. See, she just goes down and then momentarily, that's all the respite she can get before she's on the climb again. Team 6 for Norway, Hildegund Mickelsplass. In the first relay, she missed a couple of shots at the second shoot when she was standing. And Mickelsplass, again, her shooting, probably her weakest point at the moment. Dropping down and then climbing again. Here comes Anisimova. The team have been on the go now for an hour and 14 minutes. So Russia with a really clear advantage, 1:14.14. And this a review of the shooting. Closest to Kachin Apel, then the Norwegian Mickelsplass, and then just behind her, the French woman, Emmanuelle Claret. .42 seconds to make up for Mickelsplass, 26-year-old Norwegian. Couple of sprint victories to her credit in the World Cup, and also 13th last year in Anholtz in Italy in the World Championship sprint. Norwegians ended up third there. They took the bronze medal behind France and Germany. And this is, at the moment, a good performance by the Russians. This is going to give them a lot of heart. Quite speedy down there, 30, 35 kilometers now. This is the one really good section where they can let the skis run. Once again, on the climb. Norwegians being chased by the Germans, of course, who are trying to close the gap. Lovely day, no wind, so very good conditions on the range, which is pretty protected anyway. Now here comes Mickelsplass. Trying to stay in that aerodynamic tuck. Not quite as confident, was she, as the Russian who preceded her. Little weight on the outside ski to make the turn, but King Harold watches on. He, like us, probably wondering where the Norwegians are going to finish up at the end of the day. They're going to be able to close the gap on the Russians. Sunshine trying to burn off this mist as the Russians make the bottom loop. On the last leg for the Russians, Irina Mileshina. There she is, standing, waiting for the pat on the back, and Mileshina on her way. 7.5 kilometers for her, 2 rounds of shooting, and if she can keep a clean sheet and ski reasonably fast, she should be able to bring the team home to first place. But remember, the Germans have got Petra Biele on the last leg, and she's very useful indeed. Here come the Norwegians, Mickkelsplass. She had to use her extra shots, so that cost her a little bit of time. She's handing on to Liv Grete Schjelbred, the other of the Schjelbred sisters, who's currently just inside the top 20. So Liv on her way. She's the younger of the two sisters at 21 years of age. And now Kacrin Apel, who's had a pretty hard taste of relay racing this morning, particularly in the shooting range, coming in to hand over to her teammate, the very experienced Petra Biele. Petra 4th in the World Cup rankings, and it's now down to her to haul the team from 3rd to 1st if she can. And the French closing up, and this is quite useful. Anne Briand on the anchor leg for the French. Coming up the hill now. This is Mileshina. Coach there. Not sure, it didn't seem to me he was giving her a split, but more encouragement than anything else. But she's going well now. This is a good rhythm she's got coming up this hill. That 3.5 kilo rifle slung over her shoulders. So the order at the moment, as it's been for a while now, Russia in the lead from Norway, Russia, and then Germany, with France trying to close in 4th place. See with Mileshina on this skating action, really getting good drive, but being forced to herringbone when she comes to the climb. Germany's Petra Biele from Villingen. Like Uschi Dizl, her teammate, bags of experience. Runner-up here on Thursday in the 15-kilometer individual test. And here's Anne Briand. Briand for France, the world sprint champion. The decisive stage of this morning's 4 by 7.5 kilometer relay, with Germany trying to close up, as are the Norwegians, on the Russians. Russians who came out with Mileshina to open up on the relay. On this 4th leg, in charge at the moment, had a minute advantage, but the Norwegian Liv Grete Schjelbred and also Petra Biele, on current season's individual form, should be able to cut back that advantage. Whether they can cut it all back remains to be seen. But of course there's the shooting, and if Mileshina in your picture now has problems at the range, that will again give the chasing teams a chance. In 4th place at the moment, Anne Briand, the world sprint champion, not that far behind the German team in 3rd place. Last time we saw them out in the countryside around the woods and hills of the Hольmenkollen Stadium. Still some of the teams handing over on the 3rd leg. But this is Mileshina coming round the bottom of the famous hill which will be the setting for the World Cup final of ski jumping in March of next year. And now as Milosina drops down, she's going down to the stadium now, and this is where she needs to start to just ease back. Getting ready. Just, so first round of shooting in this fourth rotation, lying down. 3 extra bullets that she carries. Remember, she's carrying 8 because it's a relay. Go in the cup. The magazine holds 5. She's put that in, and now she's aiming 50 meters away from her, the target. Number 2 target on the left of your screen. And a clean shoot here will be worth an awful lot. There come the Norwegians. This is good shooting by Milosina. That's excellent. That's exactly what her teammates wanted her to do. Really good. And scampers away, organizes the poles, and she's into skiing. And again, the pressure now back on Liv Grete Skjelbred. She's aiming at target number 6. And the French are in, and the Germans as well, so very, very tight for 2nd, 3rd and 4th places now. And the Norwegians just missing shots. There's Liv dipping in for one of those extra 3 bullets. Petra Belé on the right of your screen. Ambrion's on the job as well there. Ambrion really accelerating now. That's 3. Petra Belé has to dig in. Brion goes in for 1 extra bullet. The Norwegians are out. And so is Petra Belé. You can see the distance on the snow between 2nd and 3rd, and Ambrion can't be that far behind them either. Brion, who was 4th yesterday individually in the sprint. Behind Dizlj, who won it. Still in the range, though. And that may well be a penalty loop, and that will cost them dear. Her shooting has not been exceptionally good this season. I know it's early days. But round she goes, 150 meters. This will cost her 23 seconds, and it gives another advantage to the Russian leader. Of course, they've got to come back into the range again. And that's a real pity for Ambrion, and particularly for Emmanuel Claret, who did quite well on the 3rd leg for the French. Driving hard here. And the podium positions really between these 4 countries. That's the Norwegians up front. Liv Skjelbred being chased down by Petra Belé. Belé, every skating step that she takes, she's closing on the Norwegian. You can see she's much more fluent, getting more extension and run off the skis. Liv, a little bit more staccato. And Belé, who has to travel to train, closing on her. And I don't think it'll be long before the German takes over. She should be ahead before the next range. Look at that, she's storming up the slope here. That's the difference between these 2 biathletes. So Russia, almost a minute's advantage over Norway, but we now know that that minute that you saw at the end of the stadium between Norway and Germany has come down to literally a second. This will be a good check on the leader and the chasing pair. 1:30, an hour 30 and 53 seconds for the Russian quartet. Norwegians, as ever, generous in their encouragement for all the competitors. Well, I hope he's enjoying his day out here. Perhaps he'd like to see beyond daily more than he'd like to see the biathletes. Now, here's the gap. Remember, 55 seconds was the difference between the Russians, Mileshina, and the second racer, which was the Norwegian, Škelbred, and now is Belе. So, what have they found? Well, they found 5 seconds. Bele's moved from third to second, and the duo now have closed 5 seconds on the Russian. But they're going to have to work a little bit harder, because remember, once they're through the range, the next time it's 2,500 meters to the finish, and the Russian has still got a useful advantage. Well, there are plenty of people who've been out since early this morning. A few more people for the relay, although those massive crowds that we all remember from the Lillehammer Olympics, not here. Would be nice, though, to have a little more atmosphere. Here's Ambrion. She's going to rue that miss, that extra penalty loop that she's had to ski. French being coached this season by Francis Mougel, and he'll be looking for improvements, certainly in the new year when the biathletes after the holidays resume their action at Anholt in Italy, build up to the World Championships. Mileshina the next time she comes into this stadium, it'll be to charge for the finish line. And the real interest is to see whether Belе, now that she's in second place, can cut back this advantage. So she goes round the bottom loop and prepares to go into the shooting range for the last time. We're looking out now for Petra Belе to see the distance on the snow. Here's Bele, so it's a good 200 meters that she's got to find, but Bele has moved clearly into second place. She's moved away from Liv Grete Škelbred. Here's the Norwegian. Well, the Norwegian's just behind. She's about 100 meters behind the third place racer. Here she is, the camera foreshortening the distance, really. And I don't think that she's going to be able to do anything about this. The big question for the Norwegian is whether the French will close on her for the third place. So Mileshina, terrific shooting, no extra bullets on the first visit. Now she can do that again. She's going to give herself and the Russians. One just getting jammed in there. And the clock ticking away. That 50-second advantage down to 30-35. Oh, this is a nightmare. And here comes Petra. Oh, that's really rotten luck. Looks to be a change of rifle. And she's still not started to shoot, so they're right on terms. That's cruel luck on Mileshina. Absolutely cruel. So head to head, and here comes Škelbred in for the Norwegians. Now she's missed the first one, Mileshina. And that's as unnerving as you could be. Bele's got 2 down. Belе with 3 down into the extra bullets. And remember, she's only got 3 spares, so Mileshina really suffering at the moment. Oh, and Bele's in the lead. Milashina in for a second extra. She's got to take her time or she's going to be in. Oh, and the order's changed. Germany ahead of Norway, and then Russia. Well, that's cruel on Milashina. Here comes Šelbrejd, who regains second place, but by default, really. And 300 meters. Now, Briand really needs to whack these away as quickly as she can now. Could be very tight between her and Milashina if she can get 5 out of 5. One miss, she's going to have to dip for one extra bullet. In she goes. Remember, the Russian had 300 meters to make up, so that's the best part of 45 seconds. Yes. Well, now how close is Briand going to be to Milashina? Not on the top of her form. Here's Milashina coming out now. And there's Briand. So 20-30 meters between them. And Briand, now that she's got her in her sight, that will really motivate her. So Germany lead, Norway in second place. Then Russia in third, being chased by the French. Coming up this climb, turning right-handed. So the relays providing the excitement as ever. But I really can't see Belé now letting this one out of her grasp. King Harold, I think he's going to be presenting the prizes to the German team, the world champions. And Briand. Being really driven on now. I think she's got far too much to do to close on the Norwegians, but she's got into third place. And remember, she had a penalty loop to ski after the first round of shooting, which is worth 20-25 seconds. The further that Belé goes, the further the distance opens up between her and the Norwegian, who, credit must be given, she's really sticking to her task. Germans had a clean sheet in Sweden in the first relay of the season. This time it's not quite as good a score in that department. But what might it have been had Milashina gone in and out of that range and kept 30-40 seconds advantage? Then I think there would have been a real fight for that first place. As it is, she missed out now. Allez, by the French coaches to Briand, but she's going to have to storm through the last 2,000 meters if she wants to lift herself from third to second. Head down here for Milashina. You've got to feel sorry for her. But worth noting that the Russian position will be a little false I should say, because when it comes to the World Championships, maybe they'll have better luck. And Briand, she really needs to make visual contact with Šelbrejd, and that's very difficult round these trails. There's not too many straight sections, hardly any flat ones. Well, there are other ways of spending your day. Very comfortable. So now Petra Belé coming in towards the stadium to finish the relay comfortably in first place. An hour and 42 minutes. It'll be over 42. You can see there 3 penalty loops, so 450 meters of extra skiing. Even the extra bullet's not good enough for Martina Zellner, who had 1 extra loop to ski, and Kacrin Apel, who had to ski 2 extra loops on the 3rd rotation. But Germany, strong enough to overcome those problems. An hour, 43 minutes and 14 seconds, their winning time. Second place should be the Norwegian Liv Grete Schjelbred, her teammates Anne Ellen Schjelbred, her own sister Annette Sikeland, and Hildegund Mickelsplast just waiting on the side there. But look at that, 3 extra loops of skiing, and Ambrion's going to be 3rd. 3 extra loops of skiing worth 1 minute and 10 seconds. And but for that, the Norwegians would have been perhaps in the winning position. France, again, Emmanuel Clay and Ambrion both having problems at the range. Corinne Niogre and Florence Bavarel getting 10 out of 10. And that's 1 minute, 2 loops, so worth 50-odd seconds, so the French would have been in second place had they shot clean. But Briand uncharacteristically making mistakes. And here's Milošina. 2 penalty loops to her. And you can see there was a penalty loop also skied by Galina Kukleva on the 2nd rotation. But the 3rd leg from Olga Anisimova was excellent, pulled them back into contention. And Milošina was going so well until she had the rifle problems. Sweden coming in next. Swedes, though, as you can see, more than 2 minutes off the pace. No problems at the range. This is Maria Skylander. In the last 100 meters or so of the race. Swedes who finished 8th in the first relay on their own snow, so I suppose positionally they'll take some comfort from this, but they're a long way off the best in the world. A little bit of ABBA for the, or is it Bjorn again in the background for the Swedes to come home to. And Mari Lampinen brings Finland into 6th place. So this is a look back at that last round of shooting. On the left of your picture, Milošina having changed the rifle, having the problems. And Petra Belé in your picture now, taking full advantage and getting the win. Well, coming up this afternoon, it'll be the men's relay. That's at about 2:15 Central European time. Coming next here, the 2nd and decisive run of the women's slalom from St Anton. Matt Chilton will be with you after the break.
The Biathlon World Cup